Hello, everybody. The time has come. Welcome back to Gen Z Sports for the first time in a few months, as always. I'm your wonderful co-host, Ryan Croak, joined by...
Your other co-host, Jeremy Park. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
We are, but we're not alone this time.
Not just us two.
This is an episode that we've been waiting to do for years, Jeremy. This is almost 3 years in the making.
Since the very start.
I'm shaking right now. I can't contain my excitement. Special guest, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Boaton, the best guest this show has ever seen.
Boaton is elected to remain off camera to preserve the mystery of the man behind the mask. A decision I respect and understand. I mean, the legend of Boaton it goes without saying. It's truly, he's truly an icon of this podcast.
You know, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there.
Really?
I think Boaton has gone to Hollywood and has decided to stay off camera. And I think a decision like that is not warranted with what he has earned in his career of sports broadcasting.
Well,
You clearly haven't listened to the Boaton report.
well, thank you both for signing your non-disclosure agreements. I very much appreciate that. And I have lots of activities going, so I do need to protect my identity from the common folk.
We gotta respect his wishes.
I don't
you
respect.
know?
I'm gonna respect his wishes, but I do not
respect the decision. Okay, I get you. All right, we're on the same wavelength, I guess. All right, Boaton, I mean, let's just get the ground running here. I was going to introduce you myself, and I'm going to say some things. I'm sure you're going to say some things too, but I would like you to introduce yourself, and we can see where our respective introductions kind of meet in the middle here for you. So I'd like you to introduce yourself for the people at home and watching worldwide, because, I mean, you're just truly, I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you for having me. It should be your honor. But I am a fan of the show, the Gen Z Sportscast, longtime listener, often a contributor, and I'm a lifelong sports fan of all the major sports.
Okay.
So thank you for having me.
Tell us how you got involved with the show. What did you do to earn this kind of icon status?
I think just by calling in and having some interesting points of view.
Interesting is a way to put it.
It's a
that
word.
make people think.
I wanted to ask you. Do you want to do our introductions for him?
Go for it.
Because I want to introduce you. This is how I would introduce you. All right. So we're joined by Boaton, obviously. Now, if you don't know the legend of Boaton, I'll explain why it's called Boaton. So the man behind the mask likes to put Boston in his username for a lot of things. However, as many of you are surely aware, that the A key is next to the S key on the keyboard. So when he signed up to make his account to call in and make some voice messages that we could react to on the podcast site, he mistyped his username, and it was Boaton instead of Boston. So that's how we got the name Boaton, and it stuck. So we called him Boaton. So I think the first ever voice message you sent was in February of 2021, late February, and you said that the 2021 Celtics would win the championship, and that I was not believing in them, even though I should have been. They promptly got gentlemen swept by the Nets. They lost in 5 in round 1 of those playoffs. We all know how that take aged. Anyway, so we saw this voice message, we reacted to it, we called it boneheaded, we called it ridiculous, we called it insane, and I made fun of you for a variety of things. Number one, you talked as slow as a snail. Obviously, the username being incorrect, so that's how you got the name Boaton. And probably the funniest running joke of the Boaton voice messages, the fact that every single one gets cut off abruptly right when it's about to get good because there's a 60-second time limit on the voice messages that you still cannot seem to wrap your head around. I mean, it's been, a year and a half since our last one, coming up on 2 years. Last one you sent was in November of 2021. I mean, are you still figuring out this 60-second voice limit, that second time limit? That's what I want to know. Like, I really do not understand what's keeping you back from understanding that, you know?
I just have a lot to say.
You have a lot to say.
Was there a question on that? I don't understand.
Do you understand that there's a 60-second time limit, yes or no?
I'm on a roll.
So you just choose not to follow it?
Correct.
Okay. What's your? Did I miss any introduction there?
And I was a year early for the Celtics.
A year early. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I'll give you that. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I think you checked all the boxes there on that intro.
I did forget to mention that he is a he's just a ridiculous person with terrible sports takes. But given my history, takes one to know one, so Okay, so I got my first two questions in. Is there anything that made you want to send that original voice message in about the Celtics and about how I didn't believe in them and you thought I should? Is there anything in particular that you can remember that made you want to send in that first voice message, or did you just feel like interacting with the show?
No, I just think if you're a fan, you're a fan, and the Celtics are the best organization in all of basketball. So you're either on or you're not, and they're always a contender. And I felt like they could upset the world, and they were a year early. And if it wasn't for Danny Ainge, they would have won many more championships.
Okay. Do you have any questions for him?
I don't.
You don't want to ask? Here, ask something from the list. I want you to get involved. I already asked like the first three. Ask about the last one. I already asked that one. There you go.
Boaton, the last time we heard from you was November 27th, 2021, in which you wished us a happy holidays and then said the key to the Patriots' dominance in the 2021 season was the following three things. After which the message reached a 60-second time limit and abruptly ended. You've been off the grid since then. Could you tell us why?
I've just been, you guys haven't really put up much content for me to react to.
That's a good point.
To be honest. So that's
He's not wrong.
That's probably
He's
the
not
primary
wrong.
reason. So I've had to find other ways to contribute to the society. So I've been, venturing into other hobbies.
Such as what?
Such as movies.
I have seen his movie reviews. They are
okay.
Would you like me to read some of your movie reviews, or would you like to keep the real fans?
People can find them on
Letterboxd.
Letterboxd, yes.
There you go. There you go.
Boaton,
baby.
Triple C.
Boaton, Triple C.
I have reviewed 5 movies, I believe, and if anyone else would like to me review a movie, please find me there. I'm happy to give my content, but you'll see some reviews. We
can read out one of those later on, depending on how we're feeling.
I think we should.
I wanted to ask you. You said that we haven't put up much content, and that's true. That's a very valid point. We had a very good run. 2020, 2021, but then we're not going to talk about the next few years. But yeah. So my question kind of centers around when we were talking about how you feel like I jumped off the Celtics bandwagon. Is that an accurate assessment? You felt I jumped off the Celtics?
I did.
Okay.
I was very disappointed.
So you feel like I'm a fair weather. Would you say that I'm a fan of them when things are good, but I'm too harsh on them when things are not good? Or would you say?
I wouldn't say you're a fair weather fan. I just feel like you're either in or you're out.
Okay.
And I love the team. There are certain aspects of the team that I find frustrating.
But you're always in.
But I'm always in.
Okay, I respect that. But I wanted to ask you this. So you said that there wasn't a lot of content. You had to focus on other things. Would you call yourself a fan of the podcast? You said you were.
I was, yeah.
Was?
We haven't been around. It's like the first one in a while.
Wow.
I'm surprised you guys are still doing this.
Okay, so
you guys were like.
But I'm just wondering, like we did put out some content, and you did not. We didn't hear from you at all. No. You were silent as a mouse.
No, well,
and I didn't even hear what. I want to know what those 3 keys to the Patriots' success were, because we never heard them.
Well, obviously the first one would have been don't draft Mac Jones.
That was after they drafted Mac Jones.
But he's horrid. The guy is and I think Jeremy and I can agree on that.
We'll get into that. Oh God, we'll get into that at the end. Oh man. Okay. Would you say that you're an integral part of the history of this podcast?
Dude, I'm your best guest.
We do have a ranking of the guests thing in the back. I mean, I'm not going to spoil where I have him. but there are some things that have to be taken into account, such as the amount of content we've had off of him. He is the most entertaining guest I think we've ever had.
Level, I was gonna bring that up.
But I don't know if he could, like, just pure smart. If we're banking on smarts, IQ, and true value it takes, he's nowhere near. I don't even think he needs to be included.
I know who I have at that number one.
We'll do that one eventually. That's one other one we've been talking about for years. But we need to sit down and do that one. That would be a fun one.
When are we going to talk about current stuff?
We're going to talk about that at the end.
We're talking about.
It's just been a while, so we're asking about you.
It's been a while. We want to know how you've been.
My time is valuable.
We know your time is valuable.
This podcast is really. Oh, you guys are out of practice.
This is a question I wanted to ask. So, a while ago, we had a top 10 all-time NBA players ranking.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
In which you kicked off your list.
Yes.
With the number 10 spot.
Yes.
LeBron James.
Yeah.
So our question is, has that spot changed? Has he moved down or up?
It has. It has changed.
I know what's coming.
And I have to credit actually a Philadelphia legend and superstar, Julius Erving, who agrees with me that LeBron is not even in his top 10. So I agree with Dr. J. That
He's appealing
LeBron
to the audience.
Has moved off the list. He's horrid. I put Mac Jones ahead of him.
Can you name who would replace him?
I'm sure I can think of somebody. I don't know.
We'll have to go back and find your list.
I'll find my
I wanted to, but I just couldn't sit down.
No, he wouldn't be. I
listen
mean,
to that.
LeBron. I mean, I put Dr. J for that. I'll put Dr. J as my
Your 10th.
my 10th, just for the heck of it. But I'm sure there'll be
Okay.
somebody else.
What are your thoughts on that, Jeremy?
No comment.
No comment. I'm under the impression that you believe that, like, I mean, for years we've gone on and off, and sarcastically, I feel like it's been sarcastically, but not really, that you've said LeBron is the greatest of all time.
Refresh my memory. Where do you have LeBron?
LeBron's the greatest player of all time.
Okay, you have LeBron as 1, and Ryan, where do you have him?
I unfortunately have him as 2, although I don't want him there. I want to put somebody else there, but I can't.
There's lots of other people you can put there.
You know why you can't? Because he's the GOAT.
He's
Oh,
not,
God.
but
Oh, he's not.
he's not.
Again,
And
I
you
don't
know
want
who
to
you
make
can
this
put
on
at number
LeBron.
2?
We could spend an
You-
hour on LeBron, but
You know who you can put at number 2? Michael Jordan.
I mean, you look.
It's LeBron.
I mean, you know that I hate LeBron as much as anybody, except for him.
Hating on greatness.
Except for that man. That
LeBron
man,
is-
I respect him.
LeBron is. I can't remember who I
Reluctantly.
put as number 2. I can't remember if I put Kareem as number 2 or who
I'd
I
have to
put
find the
as
list.
2.
You might have put Bird as number 2.
No, I don't think I put Bird as. Maybe I don't know, but I don't think I put Bird as.
Who would you
last.
put as number 2 today?
I'd have to relook at my list. It was a really good list. It was a really good list. I know I had
Self-proclaimed
Jordan.
really
I remember the order, but I remember the players. I had Jordan as 1 for sure.
Yep.
I don't remember who it has 2. I want to say it was either Kareem or
I think
Magic.
Bird. Magic might have been higher than Bird for you.
Yeah, but here's my. So it's Kareem, Magic, Wilt, Oscar Robertson.
I think you had Duncan in there, right?
I might have had. Duncan.
Did you have Kobe? I don't think you had Kobe top 10.
Kobe, Kobe. I put Kobe way ahead of LeBron.
Really?
Kobe's amazing. Oh my God, Kobe's.
Okay.
Yeah, Kobe's in my top 5.
I didn't think you had him in your top 10.
I have to relook at the list. I have to.
We'll have to.
re-listen that
We'll get
episode.
back to you on that.
But for sure, I'll redo that episode. But I know LeBron would at best be 10th, but it'll probably be just for spite out of the 10th.
Okay.
You got to remember, there's no defense in today's game. There is no defense. You put LeBron back in the 80s, in the 90s, he'd be nobody. Nobody.
You put any 90s
He'd be an
player in
all-star
today's
player.
game, and all of them are nobodies.
Say that again?
It works the same way around.
What was the...
Players are so much more talented nowadays.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
The basket hasn't
Kidding
changed.
me?
It's still 10 feet high.
Yeah. That
You have
okay.
To, you could play
that
defense
has
back
nothing.
then.
That has nothing to do with the skills.
I
of
think
players.
there's merit to both arguments. He's right that the defense back then is far, not simply because the defense is better, but because the rules allowed for tougher defense. That's
They'd be testing Kyrie Irving
There
for
wasn't
witchcraft
any
in the
load
match.
Here's the thing,
management.
but here's the
Load
thing.
management's a
Load-
joke.
He's right about the offense. Those guys, if you put the average 90s role player in today's game, they wouldn't make a roster.
I don't know. I would just tell you, we're not talking about the average.
This
we're
is
talking
about
We're
both.
talking about the superstars. And superstars.
That's a good point.
You know.
I do think Hakeem would destroy this league. right now. I think Hakeem would be. I'm a big Hakeem guy. I think Hakeem could be
interesting for someone who Embiid is better than.
LeBron would come off the bench for some of the Celtics teams in the 80s.
No. All right, let's calm down.
He'd be a cheerleader.
Oh my God.
He'd be a practice player. He'd be Emil Carr's best buddy waving the towel.
Okay.
He would comb Pat Riley's hair if he was on the Lakers. He wouldn't get off the bench.
Okay. Where do you think you rank in the? I mean, I think you've already answered this. Where do you think you rank in the rankings of Gen Z sports guests? Just to shift this away from LeBron. Where do you think you rank in the rankings of Gen Z sports guests? Where do you think that you should be in Jeremy and I's rankings of all the guests?
That's not for me to say, but I mean, since
You've already said it numerous times.
Well, I think I'm the best, but
Gotta love a humble man.
And LeBron's the 11th best player of all time.
Do you think you could beat LeBron in the one-on-one?
No.
Okay. Do you think there's any NBA player you could beat in the one-on-one?
No.
Okay. I respect that. Okay.
Maybe Danny Ainge.
All right.
In his playing days.
So we'll shift more towards. I don't even want to say it's his expertise because I don't think he's an expert on any sports whatsoever. But what are your thoughts? This is the one that I'm most interested in because we frequently disagree, in the past and continue to, on the Celtics. What are your thoughts on them and going into this upcoming year? Do you think they should change anything? I mean, I'll ask a plethora of questions if you want me to, like just on the state of the roster, Joe Mazzulla, things like that.
I did not like the Marcus Smart trade.
Okay,
He was the heart of the team. You lost the spirit of the team, and I would have much rather them trade somebody else or not make that trade at all.
How would you feel if the Clippers deal for Brogdon went through and they got Porzingis and kept Marcus? Would you think that would be a good deal?
I mean, it'd be all right. Yeah, I could live with that. I like Brogdon too.
I do like Brogdon,
but I could live with that. I don't know. You're taking a risk. He's already hurt his foot.
What are your thoughts on Mazzulla as head coach?
He's the reason why they brought in some better assistant coaches because the guy doesn't know what he's doing. He was put in a tough spot. I'll give him that. He did an okay job in the regular season, but the key is it's the regular season. He's just an offensive coach. He likes his philosophy is you shoot the ball 1,000,000 times and the ball goes in 300 times. You still shoot 30%, but you're scoring more points than the other team. That works in the regular season, but not in the playoffs. You need a good defense, and the guy has no clue what the hell he's doing.
That's a valid
Marcus
point.
was the guy that was setting up all the plays. He was the acting coach in the playoffs, and then they fired him. They sent him off to Memphis.
Okay.
Mizzou was a bonehead.
I disagree. I mean, I think I've defended. Have I defended Mazzulla on this show before? Because we really haven't talked. We haven't talked about. Well, last time we did this was when they were down 2-0 to the Heat, and obviously you missed a couple of things. And I came on after Marcus got traded in the middle of the night, but that was kind of different. I didn't really go into this series, But, so obviously we did miss the finals and all that stuff.
Guy who watches the movie The Town 500 times in a season.
I did tell him this.
Is not.
Did you hear about this?
A good coach.
Joe Mazzulla watches was on record saying he watches The Town, which is a movie, 4 times a week.
I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not a great movie.
Anyway, have I defended Mazzulla on this podcast before? Yeah, I think I have. I'll do it a little bit again. I think he's. You said it at the beginning of your thing. You said your little caveat. You said he was put in a tough spot, and I think that's the thing that people most forget about is he didn't know he was going to have the job until a couple weeks before the season. The roster that he had going into the year was not constructed to fit his coaching style. And yet, they still, even though it's the regular season, and I know it's not the playoffs, and it's a good point, but they were the best team in the East for 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the season before the Bucks went on that huge run at the end of their year. They took the Eastern Conference. I'm not even going to mention the playoffs. I think you're right. He does have some issues as a coach because that come with inexperience, like that timeout, that challenge that put Butler at the line in Game 6. That ended up being 3 free throws instead of 2 because he thought it wasn't a foul, and then ended up having to get a game winner from Derek White. That was boneheaded, I'll give you that. And he does have some issues with timeouts and yada, yada, yada. And I agree with you. I don't love his style. And then the way I did with some previous Celtics coaches, I think the defense is lacking, and that's something that I agree. I think the offensive philosophy does have some issues in the playoffs, but I think people got to give him another chance. I think he's more than earned that, and given that this year he's going into a year where the Celtics, oh God, where the Celtics have a roster that's more suited to his preferences, his specifications for the roster and the game plan. I think they'll be better than last year. Obviously, they added a third guy in Porzingis. I think he'll be phenomenal.
Can you read what that says, please?
I don't want to read what that says.
I'll look it up right now.
I don't want to read what that says. It says, it's an ESPN video. It says, how jiu-jitsu is helping Celtics head coach Joe Mazzulla on the court. Joe, you're making it hard on me, man. I'm trying to defend your honor. Oh, man. What are they going to do? They're going to have Derek White going out there with, like, scissor kicks or whatever? I don't know.
Let me look up what he's saying.
Oh, my goodness. But I like Joe. I think he's a good coach. I can understand why you don't like him.
He's a good.
But I think you're
regular
too
season
hard on
coach.
him. I think you're too hard on him, and I think you need to give him another shot this year.
All right.
Do you think
That
he should
is
have been?
fair. I will. You make a valid point that he was put in a tough situation like 2 weeks before the season, whenever it was. So I'll give him a full training camp.
Yeah.
I like the assistant coaches they have coming in here, but I'll tell you what. I mean,
Let's put up or shut up this year.
put up a shot, and I think there's a lot of responsibility also on the two J's
Yeah.
to grow up.
Do you think it was a mistake giving him that long-term hire at the All-Star break of this past year
It doesn't matter.
and moving on from
Doesn't.
Udoka so soon, or do you think that was
Well,
something that needed to be
They
done?
couldn't bring back Udoka.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, what were they gonna do?
Mhm. I agree.
I like the assistant coaches. I think if they don't do well, one of the assistant coaches, the guy they got from Milwaukee, and what's his face,
They
Cassell.
brought in Cassell, yeah, for
Cassell.
Cassell from the
One
Sixers.
of those guys will take over.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to read more into the article.
The jiu-jitsu.
Yes. So Joe Mazzulla began training jiu-jitsu in 2017. When he decided to become the coach of the Celtics, he decided to get back into it and utilize it as a coach. He says, it's one of the hardest things I've done. But what the art really gives is the study of transitions, and that really helps me because in a game and in a season, there's transitions and decision-making. You're actually learning how not to fight. You're learning how to handle situations. You're learning how to problem solve.
What site is that article
Well,
from?
hopefully-
Let's credit the author
hopefully
and
he's using that.
Masslive.com.
masslive.com.
It's the first article. That
Hopefully,
pops up.
that'll help him make decisions on substitution patterns, defenses,
I think
and
that's
timeouts.
I think that's what he might be referring to.
I hope
the
he is.
transitions
I hope
in
that's
a
the
game
case,
and-
Jeremy, because God knows he needs the help.
Did you hear the story of his hiring? This is a story that I heard about a while ago, but it gave me a lot of respect for Joe Mazzulla based off this. Did you hear about this? So, a couple years before he got hired, he was head coach at some, I think, Division II or Division III school. I'm not 100% sure which school, but you can fact check me on that if you don't mind. He was a head coach at a college basketball program, and he was recruiting some kid, and he said he promised the kid that he would be the head coach at the program for his duration there. Now at the same time, he was getting recruited by Ainge to be an assistant for the Celtics, and Ainge offered him the job, huge salary, all that stuff, and he said no. I made this guy a promise, and I'm going to keep it. And then he waited until he was done with that kid was done with his tenure before he signed on as an assistant coach. So that was like
He's
like,
admirable.
I think he's an admirable
man.
guy, and
I think he's an over his head. But yeah,
I mean, yeah, I get you, but I don't know. I think this year, did you think that the people who wanted to have him fired after if we lost in a sweep to Miami, do you think that he should have been fired or he would have been fired? Do you think firing him would have been the right move there or no? Because I'm firmly against that.
At the time, I probably would have said yeah, but again, if you take a longer look and give him a full training camp, I'm with you. I just hope he adjusts. That's
I
all.
agree.
You have to value the defense. The way they came back in that series is they actually played a little bit of defense. He's gotta. You cannot ignore defense for 82 games and all of a sudden make a switch to play in the play. You can't do that.
I agree. I think the one other thing I like to point out when I talk about how much I like Mazzulla as a coach, I don't love him as a coach in the way I don't think he's the greatest coach of all time or anything. I think the issues that people bring up about him are valid and they're good points. But I'm a defender of him in the sense that I think people are too harsh on him, and I think he's a good coach. But I think that another thing that people forget about is, at the end of the day, it's not his fault if his players don't execute. Because remember the Philly series was, you remember how infuriated I was that entire series watching them go out and play like garbage, and especially in game 5, like, there's just so many mental lapses. And some of them, people can blame that on coaching, but you know what? Al Horford going 0 for 7 in the game from three-point, that's not on Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla's not the one shooting those shots, that's the team, So I think that the Celtics also, as a team, are just fail to execute on a consistent basis. And again, it's hard to be consistent for 82 games, and then the playoffs, every team's going to have their moments, every team's going to have some lapses here and there, but I feel like with the Celtics, they're such a talented team, they have those lapses a lot more often than other teams do, at least it seems to me. So maybe that's a coaching issue, but I think that's been a thing under Brad. That was a thing under Brad that pissed me off. You remember that? It was a thing under Ime. Remember they had that midseason turnaround after being 500, like 50 games into the season? And then it was a thing under Mazzulla, but Mazzulla's the one who gets all the crap for it when the other two are looked back on with rose-colored glasses. Yeah, so that's my only other thing about Mazzulla.
Well, that's the point. It's Tatum and Brown need to step up, and more so on Tatum as a leader.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the Brown extension?
I mean, should he be paid the most in the league? No, but it is what it is.
That's the market.
Culture. You had to do it.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yep. I'm in
I'll
agreement.
Be curious if he has to play this 1 year, but he may leave after this year. I'll be curious.
I think he'll stay. I doubt they're going to trade him after you sign
him.
They
won't trade him. I'm saying he might. That's the culture now, is you can determine what you want to do.
That's a good point.
But I don't know. But anyway, they should come out of the East.
They should come out of the East? And then what happens if they don't?
We'll have to reevaluate.
Keep the core, get rid of Mazzulla, and keep the core for another year. Keep Mazzulla, or get rid of Mazzulla, get rid of the core.
They can't get rid of the core. They have to
figure something out.
Get Marcus back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So we talked about the Celtics. This is we're going to go to a sport we don't talk about that much on here. We'll talk about some baseball. Now, I have been, hearing quite a lot about what he has to say about the Red Sox this year. Would you care to elaborate in any way what you think about them, Chaim Bloom, the team, the expectations, how they're doing this year, anything?
They stink. They just stink. And I don't blame the players. I don't blame the manager. I blame the GM who thinks he's still in Tampa. And they blame the owners because they think they're managing a soccer team. Or they care more about their stupid soccer team with LeBron, of all people. So, yeah, I hate the Red Sox.
I would care a lot about a soccer team over by LeBron.
They're They're 4 games out of they're 4 games below 4 games out of a wild card spot, 7 games above 500. Do you think it's over for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not because Cora's doing the best he can. He's got nobody. They made no trades. They could have made trades. The guy's he's more interested in the future. The ownership doesn't want to pay. They think they're a small market team, and that doesn't play.
I agree.
I miss Dombrowski.
Yeah. I blame the ownership primarily. I think the ownership's the problem. And, we've had this conversation plenty of times, but I'll keep it short and sweet. Everyone likes to criticize Bloom for his moves in the GM spot, but I think he's doing, some of his moves have been terrible and they need to be brought into question. And some of his lack of moves have also been terrible, like at the deadline. But at the end of the day, he's been dealt a crappy hand. They hired him to be a GM of a team that has a budget of, has a small budget when the owners are not pressed for money by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they could expand the budget of this team by double or triple if they wanted to, but they just don't care anymore. And that's the problem. And at the end of the day, I think blaming Bloom for everything when it falls more on the ownership giving him a crappy hand and saying, we have the money to spend on this team to make it a good team, make it a good product, and make it something that people want to get behind and care about, but we're just not going to do it because we don't care about them. And I think that's the problem. And to bring about this LeBron soccer team stuff, LeBron unfortunately does own a stake in Fenway Sports Group, which is the owner of the Red Sox, which is quite ironic, which is a shame.
That must suck for you guys.
I hate LeBron. All right, any thoughts on the Red Sox besides that or no?
No,
they stink.
Get rid of Chaim Bloom. If they make a run, it'll be in spite of him. And I like the players. The players, I don't have an issue with any of the players. They're playing hard. They're hustling. Core's, I think, good dude. I like Core a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's the management.
Do you think the Betts trade? What do you think about the Betts trade?
It's stupid. They lost all their good guys.
All right.
They never should have let Betts go.
Last thing I'm going to transition to, and then we can open it up if you have anything else you want to ask. I want to ask you about the Patriots going into this upcoming season. What do you think about? This is where you already mentioned Mac. What you think about him, Money Mac? What do you think about Money Mac in the past?
He's horrid. He's horrid. I would wish they would cut him and bring Brady. Brady's going to be in the stadium on.
You'd rather have Brady than Mac?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brady's going to be back in the stadium for Game 1 against the Eagles, and I bet you if he was under the center, they would win. But because of Mac, they're going to lose.
Which Brady are we talking about right now?
Edward Patrick Brady.
Yes. But no, the Patriots, I mean, I like Cunningham.
I like Malik. I'm a big Malik guy.
But Mac is horrid. But the problem with Mac is he thinks he's good.
I think any NFL quarterback would think he's good.
Yeah, but he doesn't deserve to be good. He's I don't know. He's not good. He's not good.
What are your thoughts on Mac Jones?
No comment.
No comment. You wanted to say some things earlier. Come on.
The Patriots will still win 11 games and get in the playoffs.
I'll read you my. You want me to read you my Patriots record prediction? I was going to save this for if we did a solo sports episode.
They're going to get in the playoffs. They're going to win by the old way, when Brady wasn't there, and when his first year, when Bill didn't trust him, which is running the ball, playing good defense, throwing the ball very conservatively. They finally have some speed now the last couple of years. But the offensive line needs to get stronger. The offensive line, I think, is the weak point of the team. So
okay.
If their offensive line doesn't shape up,
they're screwed.
They're messed. If they gel, then they'll win 11 games.
I have them going 9-8. They're either going to be the 7th seed or they're going to be the first team out. So, like 7th seed or the 8th seed, which would not make them playoffs.
They're going to finish last in the AFC East. Completely miss the playoffs.
Completely disagree. I think the Jets are. I mean, people call me crazy, but I think the Jets are finishing last in the AFC East, and I've been confident on that ever since, like all year long.
Bills,
I like Aaron Rodgers.
Even with Rodgers.
Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, and then Jets. Aaron Rodgers is.
Bill over the Dolphins? You think the Pats are going to finish over the Dolphins?
Yeah, they'll finish second.
I disagree with that. I'm high on the
Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots.
I have Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets, and I think the Jets are going to crash and burn. I think here's the thing with the Jets. They're a boomer bust team. This team is either winning like 13 games or they're winning 6. And I'm firmly in the 6 camp. But it's either gonna be one of those things that I'm gonna look at a profit or it's gonna come back to bite me. It's gonna be no in between. I'm just not high on. I've never been high on Rodgers. You know that. I think they have a really good core. We have a really good team on paper, but I just think that, there's just a lot of, this is the most hype the Jets have had in years. And I just don't think that they're going to be, even despite Rodgers. I think Rodgers, in concept, he's a veteran guy. He's been in the spotlight for ages. But he's a nut job, and I don't think he's going to be the greatest influence on this young roster that other quarterbacks could have been. And I don't know. I don't like Rodgers. I think that this is a team that's, got a lot of potential, but I just don't think it's all going to click. Dalvin Cook's a cool signing, I guess, but even if they stay healthy, I just don't see them going super far. And if they do, it's because Breece Hall is going to have a monster season. That's my take.
I disagree.
But yeah, I have the Pats finishing 3rd in the AFC East, ahead of the Jets.
Second.
I think that they're going to have a decent year. I think it's going to be just a normal run-of-the-mill year for them. Like, oh, good, we tried. Bill's not going to want to tank, so we're not going to be good. We're not going to be trash, but we're not going to be bad. We're just going to be an ugly team to watch. We're going to be one of those teams that nobody wants to see on national TV because it's just they'd ever score higher than 17 points, and if they do, it's because the defense got 2 pick sixes. And, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what O'Brien does with this team because that's the thing that I'm saying, right? I don't think that Mac deserves the slander he's getting, but I will say this. If he does not perform this year, he's done. Get him off the team.
Yeah.
Get him off the team. I mean, no Patricia, no Judge, thank God. But there's no excuses this year. They still should have done more to buff up the offense and the receiving core for him. But hey, their young receivers look good. The guys they drafted look good. Demario Douglas looks good. Kayshawn out of LSU looks good. I don't know. We'll see. But if he doesn't have a good year, I think he's done. And I think we go with Zappi and Malik. I want to see Malik get some starting minutes this year. Get some starting snaps.
Don't underestimate Ezekiel Elliott.
I agree. I think he can be a good. He'll be a good like. They're going to be a mini Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. They're going to be light. Ramondre and Zeke are going to be Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon light.
That's such a disrespect.
Light. Said light. Like
No.
65, 70%.
No, not even.
No, Aaron Jones is
Lucky
getting up
to
there.
be 20%.
Oh, that's ridiculous. You have not seen
Ezekiel
Ramondre.
Elliott?
You have not seen Ramondre play. If you
I'll give him the credit.
put
but
Zeke in a
Ezekiel
power
Elliott-
back spot,
Yeah, and he's getting blown back like the last play on the Cowboys.
that's
that he had.
different. He's not an O lineman. All right. Okay. So, anything else to add on the Pats?
He eats like an O lineman.
Oh my god. What do you think about the? What do you
They
think
will
about
beat
Bill?
the Eagles week 1.
They'll beat the Eagles. I have that going down too, for a variety of reasons. One, because I just genuinely believe it'll happen, but two, because I hate the Eagles and I would never pick them to win
And
against the
they'll have
Pats.
a better record than the Chargers. They will beat out the Chargers for a playoff spot.
I disagree with that full-heartedly.
And I think the one quarterback worse than Mac Jones that's overrated is Hey Bear.
Herbert,
Hey Bear. I call him Hey Bear.
Air Bear. I mean, say what you will about Matt Patricia. I
Bear
don't
has
remember
done
him ever
nothing.
choking a 27-0.
What has Hair Bear done? Hey Bear doesn't care. He doesn't do anything.
27-0.
The Patriots make the playoffs last year.
I'd rather them not make the playoffs than get embarrassed like that.
Did the Chargers?
Do you
make
think
the playoffs?
Do you think more people are making fun of the Patriots for not making the playoffs than they are of you guys for choking a 27-0 lead?
It's not about who gets made fun of the most. It's about who actually makes the runs.
You don't get a gold medal for
Redskins.
making the playoffs, bud. But you do get a gold medal when you choke one of the most hilarious chokes since 28-3.
Who did they lose to? I forget.
The
that.
Jags.
Ah.
Lawrence had like the worst first half in the history of football, and then he had the best second half in the history of football.
I think the Chargers will beat the Chiefs, though. The Chiefs suck. I hate
I hate
the Chiefs.
You hate the Chiefs, right?
I don't like the Chiefs.
That's something we're all in agreement on, right? Well, there you go.
LeBron is the
We had
Chiefs.
common ground in the final question. I mean, you have anything else you want to ask him?
No. Get this man out of here.
All right, so yeah, this was Inside the Mind with Boaton.
You asked me about my movies or what?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna plug you real quick.
Oh,
Okay, I was gonna get there.
Sorry.
So as he
Jeez.
mentioned, oh my goodness, as he mentioned, do you want me to plug you or not?
Sure.
As he mentioned earlier, I want to read out a review. Which review would you like me to read out? I'll give you a couple options. I'll read out a couple, but I'll give
Jeremy
you.
an option. I want
I'll give you a
Jeremy to
couple
feel
options.
good.
Let's see. So yes, as he's mentioned earlier, he is now getting into the movie review scene. He's an aspiring movie critic. You love him, you know him. He's America's favorite movie critic. He is Boaton CCC, all lowercase, no spaces on Letterboxd. Boaton CCC on Letterboxd. That is. He's a baller. He's got 5 followers. Pardon me, 6 followers. 5 followers, but he's following 6 people. Who does not follow you back? Ooh, scandal. Looks like Josh doesn't follow you back. Ooh, interesting. Anyway, he's reviewed five movies so far.
I want to hear Jaws.
He's reviewed The Notebook, Good Will Hunting, Shawshank, Dirty Dancing, and Jaws. Would you hear his Jaws review?
I want to hear The Notebook.
The Notebook? This is his most recent one. I wanted to like this movie as I thought it was a documentary about Staples versus Office Depot, in which store had the best notebook offers. Back to school is no joke, and I thought this could save me time in the long run, so I wouldn't have to trek across godforsaken 202 and compare stores. Have you seen the traffic lately? Thanks, half-finished construction projects. This district needs help in planning projects. I like Rachel McAdams. Wish she could accompany me to look for notebooks and pencils for my kids. When does school start again? 2-star review, 3 likes on that one. It's a good one. One of my personal favorites is a short and sweet one of Shawshank. You want to hear this?
Sure.
It's a 1-star review.
Oh.
Please tell me why we are celebrating an escaped convict and tax evader.
All right, don't give any others away. But if you'd like me to review a movie, please follow me. And
if you want to read the Jaws one,
me.
the Jaws one is a little long, but it's one of my all-time favorites.
Reward the people that actually look at it.
Yeah, if you want to see the Jaws review, look at that. Look him up on Letterboxd. It's an absolute divine read.
Send me a movie. I'm happy to
send him a movie. We'll send us your recommendations for him. We'll get them to him, and he will be all over this. Can I read your Good Will Hunting one? Your Good Will Hunting one is hilarious.
It's up to you.
All right, so
And there's 5, and you've read 3.
that's a good point. I just want to read his Good Will Hunting was pretty funny.
The audience can read it if they really want to see it.
That's a good point. You know what? Yeah, I'll let the audience enjoy it. He's got some good reviews out, and I can't wait to see what else he does with this. Anything else you'd like to say, Boaton?
No, thank you for having me.
We do a thing called the parting words, which is where we'll let you do your thank you and all that stuff, but we do a thing called the parting words at the end of each episode, which is not just saying, oh, thanks to the audience, thank you for listening, we'll see you next time. It's you make one bold, ridiculous take or statement, and you can be serious, it can be completely unserious, it can be something you truly believe, something you think is ridiculous and never could happen. Whatever it is, say something ridiculous, outlandish, and make it a take about sports, music, anything you want to make it about. Movies, I don't care.
And it can't be brought to a discussion.
It cannot be brought to a discussion, too. So, do your piece. Thank you to the audience, all that stuff, whatever sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
You leave it all to our reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say, I wish I was a little more prepared.
We'll do the parting words at the end.
I would say my take.
No, save it. You were in the middle of thanking the audience and saying we'll say the same.
Very confusing.
Okay, so you do your piece. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I missed the podcast. I'm glad it's back. I will be an avid listener. I will comment again. Thank you to all the people that have listened to the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate being on. And good luck.
I'm glad to have you.
It's a big year for both of you.
Glad to have you. You know, one thing I'd like to see you do in the future is let's try to get that 60-second time limit down, okay? Please.
If he's on a roll, he's on a roll.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, maybe
Thank you, Jeremy.
I'm sorry. You know
you,
what? I'll let him cook. I'll let him cook. Thank you for joining, Boaton. I mean, this was an illuminating episode, one that we've been thinking about for years. And we finally got it done. Ever since that first voice message, this has been something I've wanted to do. We finally got it done. And, for the fans of the podcast who know Boaton, who love Boaton, who might hate Boaton, who think he's an idiot, think he's ridiculous, think he's a complete moron, he's here, and he said his piece, and, do with it what you will. I think we learned a lot. It was a fun experience. It lived up to the hype for me personally. I don't know if the same can be said for you, but I respect him at the end of the day. He's got some ridiculous takes that I do not agree with, but he does not waver in those takes.
He holds strong in those takes, which
he's confident, and I respect that. So I'll just say this: it was a pleasure having you on, and I can't wait to see what you do going forward. I can't wait to hear from you going forward, and I'm glad that even though you might be quite a ridiculous personality in the world of sports, show wouldn't be the same without you to make fun of. So
well, thank you again for having me on.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as what's the parting words, I will leave my parting words on a voicemail.
I want to hear your parting words. No, the parting words have to be here. Come on, absolutely not.
That's the take I'm taking.
That's not how it works. We can do our parting words first to give you an example. That you have to make your parting words.
No.
That's not how it works. This is an unwavering. You signed the contract. We signed your NDAs, so you would sign this contract to make your parting words.
If you're a fan of the show, you have to abide by the rules.
Exactly.
Of the show.
The parting words are a non-negotiable. Everyone does them. All right. So we'll show you what we mean by the parting words. Would you like to do yours first, or would you like me to do mine first?
I'll do mine first. Patriots are finishing last in the AFC East. Chargers on top.
That's a little bit of weak sauce for the parting words, I'm not going to lie. That's something you already said. Say something you haven't already said. So it'll be a little more outlandish.
Aaron Rodgers, in his first year with the Jets, will make them soar all the way to a Super Bowl win. The Jets will be champions.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Here's my parting words. We're in training camp. Pats are, a lot of conversation about Mac Jones and about his, abilities and lack thereof. I think by the end of the year, if the Patriots give Bailey Zappi or Malik Cunningham the reins as starting quarterback, they will make the playoffs and they will shock some people. So my parting words, start Malik, start Zappi, and trade Mac while you can.
My parting words?
Your parting words.
It's more of a question.
Okay. This has never been done before in the parting words.
Integral part of the podcast.
Who I think is going to, and I'll leave this on the voicemail because I'm going to do some research. I don't know what will be the greater number? The number of timeouts Joe Mazzulla calls during the upcoming NBA season, or the number of touchdown passes that Mac Jones has in this upcoming NFL season. I both think they're going to be really low. I don't know which one will be higher.
What about points given up by the Celtics defense under Mazzulla versus interceptions by Mac Jones?
That could be a tough one as far as
how high they go.
Yes, I totally agree.
That's a good question. I guess we'll have to keep track of that and see how it goes. I'm willing to bet the Mac one being higher on the touchdowns and or on the interceptions, but also lower on the touchdowns.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. That's a good part. That's a good parting words. Never been done before. The parting question. That is something special. Make it a mark. Make it a mark. It was a pleasure to have you.
Changing the game.
Changing the game. I like it. We'll get back to you on your top 10 list at some point. But yeah. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed. Boaton finally sitting down with Jeremy and I for a conversation.
I hope to be back again sometime.
Thank you, everybody. We hope you all have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever it may be. And, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We love you all. Have a good night. Have a good day, whatever it is.
This has been Gen Z Sports. I'm Jeremy Park.
I'm Ryan Croak. We'll see you all in the next one in 5 months.
Or more.
Or more.
Probably more.
We'll see you all. Boaton will be dead by the time the next episode comes out.
We'll see you next summer.
All right. Thank you, everybody.